Welcome, everybody, to our great event, our Dean Speaker Series. We have an excellent speaker, Randy Garutti. He needs no introduction. Do you want to say hi, Randy, before we get started?
How many of you have ever eaten at a Shake Shack? All right, yeah.
Wow.
How many of you have ever had a bad experience at Shake Shack? I have. It's okay to put up your hand. Okay. All right, cool. We'll get to that.
So I'll introduce you for 10 seconds, but I really want to hear from you, not me. Randy, as you all know, is the former CEO of Shake Shack. There's a couple more things you should know about him. One of it is that he's a graduate of Cornell. Okay.
Sorry.
But his career in Shake Shack is actually, you were the founding, you were there from the very first founding up until you let it public, etc. You're also, through Shake Shack, have created something special about the soul of New York that to me has become identifying with the city in a special way, much like Broadway or anything else. And so we're just excited to have you. A place to start, in my opinion, is to hear the background from every great leader, know where they came from, and how they become so successful. And so I'd like to start with you and your childhood and where do you come from and what matters to you.
Thanks, Jorge. Thanks to all of you for being here, and thanks for all of you TikTok trenders for getting the Saratoga water. And if anybody's got a bucket of ice, I'm about to do it. You know what I'm talking about. Can we just have some fun today?
Yeah.
All right, because you guys sit here, and I'm sure you get like lots of really important people, way more important than me, and we talk about finance or all these other things. Like, what we did is something you can put your hands on. We just sell cheeseburgers. And I think there's a lot of learning in it that I'd love to share with you. So I won't give you my life story, but real quick, I was born in the city, but I grew up in New Jersey. When I was 10, I had a paper route. If you watch Stranger Things and how they ride their bikes around, that was basically my life, but none of the monsters around. When I was 13, I got a job at a bagel shop, making $3.50 an hour, cash money, off the books. We were hitting it. And I was loving the restaurant business. I decided I wanted to go into it, and I applied to Cornell at the hotel restaurant school. I went there. Through that time, I worked for Marriott for a summer. Down in Florida, I worked for Chili's, which I'm going to tell some stories about. At Chili's, I made a big move up. I made $6 an hour on the books. That was big. And then I studied in Paris at the Sorbonne, traveled around Europe, went to 17 countries by myself, continued to grow. And when I was taking the graduate call that you all took when you graduated from your undergrad, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I loved to travel. And on the other end of the phone was a guy, and he said, "Randy, all you got to decide is whether you want to ski or you want to surf." And I was like, "I don't know who you are, sir, but I'll take the job." I said, "I'll ski." My first job was managing a steakhouse in Aspen, Colorado. I would go in at 6 in the morning. We'd do the books for the restaurant. I'd catch the 8 a.m. gondola, ski my ass off all day, come back at 4, run the restaurant all night. And I lived with 9 ski bums that there was always a keg, and someone else woke up in that house every morning. We never knew who it was. They then came to me and said, "How about surfing?" I was like, "Okay." And they moved me to Hawaii. And I moved to Maui. My second restaurant job was managing a restaurant in Maui. Loved it, had a great time. Instead of skiing, we were surfing and having fun. I was enjoying life. Quickly got island fever, wanted to get out, moved to Seattle, and worked at a famous old fine dining restaurant named Canlis. If anyone's from Seattle, it's the best restaurant in the Northwest, amazing place. And during that time, I met a guy named Danny Meyer in New York. If you haven't heard of him, he's been my partner and boss for the last 25 years. And he owns Union Square Cafe, Gramercy Tavern, 11 Madison Park at the time, all kinds of restaurants in New York. We could go on. And he hired me when I was 24 and told me what many of you have maybe heard in your first jobs. "You're not ready for this, but we're going to give you a chance." And I came to New York when I was 24, and I was the GM of a bumping, really fun, loud, passionate, sexy, colorful restaurant named Tabla. That was an Indian restaurant. It was so fun. We ran it for 13 years. It was great.
And Danny, what did you know when you were 24 that you wanted out of your life, or what didn't you know, and what evolved at that sense?
It's a great question. I sure as hell never said, I want to make a lot of money. I'm 49, and I retired last year. that's just a weird word. I don't even know what to do with that. I'm only telling you that because I sure as hell didn't have that as a goal. I wanted to be in places that I love to be, and I used the business and my skill set in restaurants to do that. I wanted to travel, I wanted to be in cool places, and I wanted to surround myself with amazing people doing cool things. And I came back to New York. And for about 3.5 years, I ran Tabla, and I ran Union Square Cafe. During this time, we had 9/11. I saw the second plane hit. As I exited the subway, I was heading into work to run a restaurant that day. That next Saturday, a restaurant that did 700 people a night did 18 covers. We had no idea if we'd ever have a restaurant again. I led through some crazy stuff. And I was the director of operations then for all of our fine dining restaurants. One goofy thing we did one time, put up the hot dog cart, Kev, was we put out a hot dog cart in Madison Square Park down on 23rd Street. The whole goal of this was to raise money for a park. And if you look at this art project, it was a Thai artist, and his whole thing was, I'm going to put taxis on stilts. And as part of my art exhibit, I want a hot dog cart. Now, mind you, go ahead.
Hold on. You're saying Madison Square Park today is a very nice place to live. This was a different time.
Thank you.
And was it on decline or?
It was so far declined.
Us,
and
yeah.
you guys can't imagine this because you're not living in this New York. But in early 2000s, Madison Square Park, this park, homeless, drugs, rats, you walked around it at night. There's no way you went in that park at night. It was horrible. We helped raise money to do this art project. And as part of it, we did a hot dog cart. And we took 11 Madison Park, this is a Michelin 3-star restaurant, was named the #1 restaurant in the world a number of years back. And in the private dining kitchen, we started cooking up hot dogs. And we used the pastry chef, and we created ice cream. And people lined up, 50 people, 100 people. We ran that damn hot dog cart for 3 years, and it was the biggest pain in the ass ever. Because we were fine dining guys. I was dressed in a suit. I'd be serving you nice wine at Gramercy Tavern tonight. We were not building a restaurant empire. 2004, you can put up the Shack picture again. Well, let's take a second on that. Go back one. This is fun. Danny Meyer writes down, back of a napkin, literally anyone an aspiring entrepreneur out there? Come on, guys. Some of you are going to do. Yeah. This was the back of the napkin moment where he wrote down what Shake Shack would become. And he gave it to us and said, guys, go build this.
So how do you guys make that jump? It's really interesting. You're saying you're fine dining people.
Yes.
And then at some point, you want to help the park and you go and invest in this hot dog cart. But it seems like there's a change in mindset there where they say, oh, we're going to build a premium product, but kind of mass market in that sense. How did that happen? When did that jump occur, or what kind of drove that?
In 2004, after 3 years of the hot dog cart, we said, hey, people like these hot dogs, why don't we make it a kiosk, 400 square feet, and we'll raise money for a park, and all of our rent will go to the park. This was a new concept at the time. And so we're doing a public good. All you smart finance people, we did an original pro forma. Okay? We thought if we did $550,000 a year in the kiosk selling cheeseburgers, that would be a hell of a business out of 400 square feet. Its best year ever, we did $9 million in sales out of 400 square feet in the park. But I just fast forwarded like 15 years. Let's come back. We asked the question, whoever wrote the rule that fast food needs to suck? Now, you guys are younger, okay? You grew up in this generation, but I want you to just try for a second to put yourself in this time. In 2004, when this was being built, Zuckerberg was creating Facebook in his dorm room. Nobody ever heard of an iPhone, okay? This is the time we're living in. There was no social media, really. And if you were really cool, you had a BlackBerry. And you loved that thing, man. And then fast forward to the Shack, we built this thing and we said, well, why can't we do it in a way where the ingredients are actually good? You should not eat a hamburger every day, I'm here to tell you. When you do, it should be a really good one. So make it great. And we just stripped down every rule. Why does the food need to suck? Why does the lighting need to be horrible? Why, in our best business model that we can build, we're going to tell you to just drive around the back and not even come in?
Now, I'll tell you why we would say at Columbia Business School might be a good reason for that, because it's expensive, right? Because it's expensive to have high quality ingredients and to not focus just on getting as many people through the system as you can. And McDonald's would be following what we would call in Colombia a cost leadership strategy. And so I'm curious how you were thinking about that and thinking we can actually match some ballpark of the cost to do that.
This is good because my whole point of today is to strip down everything you guys have learned in your education here at Columbia Business School and take it down to the heart of one weird way that we did it. And it was truly the most organic, naive leadership at the time. I was very young. This was just one thing we were doing. We were building other restaurants. It wasn't for 5 more years that I was walking home on the Upper West Side on 77th Street and I saw a for rent sign. And I went to Danny and I said, let's do a second one. Now, if you had told me at that time that we would have today almost 600 Shake Shacks in 35 states and 20 countries today, that is a dream we could not have imagined. And here's how we did it. We just focus on one burger at a time. One product every time. I meet so many people like you guys, okay? And maybe some of you will reach out to me. I hope you will. Hopefully I'll say something that is worth listening to today. But a lot of people will come to me in my business and say, I got it. Here's my business idea. Y'all got your own business idea. I'm going to scale this thing to 100 restaurants.
Yeah, and
let me show you my business plan.
If you're getting investors, you need to do it within 10 years, which I'm hearing it took you 7 years to go from the hot dog stand to the second.
That's exactly right.
Second establishment. Yeah,
from a hot dog stand to a second restaurant in 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
What I will say to you when you come to me is, how are you doing on the one thing that matters, the one product that you've built, the one thing that people want? And that is all we did. We worked on this one restaurant. And then we earned the right, because people loved it, to build a second one. After we did that, we earned the right to build a third. And all along, we'll get to the IPO. I couldn't spell IPO when I took this company public in 2015. I'm a guy working $3 an hour bagel shop in New Jersey. We didn't know how to do this. That's exactly why it worked. Because we made it real, and we loved it, and we did it one burger at a time. So all you guys fundraising, or watching Shark Tank, if you're not fundraising and working for somebody, you like to watch Shark Tank, I'll give you the quick story. This is so good. So 2009, we have 2 Shake Shacks, okay? We go into the Shark Tank, we've got to go raise some money. We owed a few $1 million from a bank loan. And in 2008, everybody was calling loans, right? You had to pay it back. We had to go get some money if we wanted to build a couple more Shacks. At this time, I had come out of fine dining, and I was like, all right, let's see about this Shack thing. And we sold to a group of investors, really like not traditional private equity, friends and family, and a asset management office, an $86 million valuation. Get that. We had 2 restaurants.
Wow.
86 million. If you're watching Shark Tank, this is the point where Mr. Wonderful or Mark Cuban kicks you out. 86 million. Everybody said those guys were crazy, okay? But here's the kicker. If you fast forward that, one of the things that we believed deeply in was making money was a rule. Every shift, every day, every month, every year. There was no, give me money so I can invest it, overspend, and build for the future. No, we were building for the right now and earning the right to build restaurants. We took that 25 million to an IPO. Never had a second round. Never had a second round. You've named another company that took a 1-round investment of 25 million to an IPO. Certainly doesn't happen in our business. And that was kind of the crazy thing. We could talk all about it.
Okay, so you raised this money, and clearly you're hoping to expand. But one thing that strikes me when I'm reading around the Shake Shack story is that the Madison Square Park revitalization was not the only time you opened Shake Shack in places where it was sort of where the neighborhood needed sort of an upgrade. You did that in 86th Street, Grand Central Terminal. It kind of was part of rebuilding. How do you balance those two? It's almost like I'm hearing we had a mission of social impact and making money, and it's always complex. Or maybe I'm not thinking about it right, and it's simpler than that.
No, there was always our tagline, whatever you want to call it, it became our mission from the beginning, was stand for something good. It was kind of a double entendre because at that time, there was always a line of people standing online at Madison Square Park. You guys didn't live this, but if you went to Shake Shack in 2004, 6, 8, there was probably 100 people online 12 hours a day. Stand for something good became our mission. And it was never on purpose, stand for something perfect, stand for something great, stand for something good. We were just trying to do a little bit better than everybody else. And lots of times, I like to choose spots, as a lot of you are probably studying real estate, where people are just naturally supposed to be having a good time. And often the expectations are even lower. So our third Shake Shack ever was in Citi Field, the Mets Stadium, okay? At that time, food really was terrible in ballparks. And to this day, 15 years later, we're still the #1 concession stand in all of Citi Field. I love to bring Shake Shack to an airport. When you go to an airport, you know the food's gonna suck. You know it's gonna be an annoying experience and it takes too long. And that's all true at Shake Shack. It takes way too long at the airport if you've ever been. But I love going where people have lower expectations and then we can just win and win and win. And we made lots of real estate decisions, but none of them more important than every Shack was meant to be a community gathering place. Now you guys, if you were working on a business plan for a restaurant today, 100% of you would build something that's digital and small, and it's a cloud kitchen, and it's efficient. Very rarely today are people saying, like, let's build the community gathering place. And I would tell you that that is exactly what the world needs right now. If you look at Starbucks, perfect example. Starbucks struggling, and everything they're doing right now is, if you look at their ads, it's all come back, sit down, hang out at Starbucks.
And Starbucks, in fact, the mistake is believed to be that when the pandemic came, they said, oh, it's all digital. We're just going to do quick ordering, increase throughput, Frappuccino, you'll get it faster. And just sort of sales started going down. They moved to much smaller, establishments and, in fact, started losing money.
And that's what we said is whoever wrote the rule that fast food shouldn't be a place where you gather. And that's what we wanted to build.
That's really interesting. So let me take you back to your relationship with Danny Meyer, because a lot of our students often have to work with somebody that's kind of on the artistic side of the business. He was a chef. Other people are working with an engineer trying to build some great product. Other people might be working with might be a business partner to a scientist. And you guys have had a very successful friendship and relationship taking this forward over many years. Any thoughts you have on what makes that successful or things to look out for?
Yeah, I think as many of you either build your own businesses or graduate and decide what you're going to do, the only thing that matters, and I'll bet you your stack ranking as you graduate from here, how much money am I going to make? What's the cool company? What are the things I'm going to learn? All really important stuff. All of those have to come after who is the person I'm working with and for. And if I'm going to join a company, is there somebody there who actually cares, is invested in me, and is going to let me run? Danny Meyer was the founder of our company. He's doing just fine. He doesn't need another Shake Shack in his life. But he let us run with it. He let us build it. And he and I did a fireside chat earlier today. He's got an investor fund where we invest in small startup companies, so maybe one of them will be yours someday. And we were talking to a lot of those startup companies, giving a lot of this message. We can finish each other's sentences, Danny and I, and for 25 years, we worked together solving the hardest problems that we possibly could. But he always said, hey, I'm the founder, I'm going to be the chairman of the board, but this is your baby, you run with it. And he always let us.
And you felt you had that trust even when you said you started at 24.
You have to.
A lot to learn, but nonetheless.
Yeah, when I was catapulted in Seattle before meeting Danny into my first general manager job, the owner of the restaurant said, I'm going to give you this job because I want to wake up scared every morning. I could tell you lots of reasons why that guy should have been really scared. And I could tell you lots of stories of really bad decisions that I made as a 23, 24-year-old that scared the shit out of him. And every time he stood by me, taught me where I missed. We talked about how we might do things differently. And I have had the pleasure of working with leaders, and I've tried to be that leader myself, where that when people screw up, I'm with them. And I mean, I'm sure we'll get into leadership. But one of my leadership principles that I share, that hopefully is a takeaway for you guys, is when you were working with me all these last years, we were making some tough decisions. None of us had ever run a company as large today as it was yesterday, okay? None of us had done it before, none of us. I got a bunch of 20-somethings and we built this crazy company. Today, I think it's worth $4 billion in the public market. It's been as much as 6. I don't think we've ever gone below 1.5. Pretty valuable company. When people came to me with an idea, no matter whether you were the manager on the floor at a restaurant in Texas or working in Shanghai at a restaurant, you came to me with an idea, this is what I would say all the time. I love your idea. You can do whatever you want in this company. I'm not going to stop you. But you better be right. Now, that second part caused all of you to go, oh shit, I got to be right? Because we all have ideologies. We all have, I want to pay people more. Shouldn't people make, I'm going to pay $25 an hour. Okay, no problem. You can pay $25 an hour.
But explain to you how it's good for the business because
it's going to be great
for the other.
Yeah. And do it. Pay $25 an hour. And next month I'm going to come to you. And you better have been right. And if you can figure out how your business works better because you're paying awesome, man, let's pay $25. I'm never going to stop you. And that was a core principle of my leadership because that second part, do whatever you want, but you better be right, causes you to be accountable, you to do the homework, prove that your thing is going to work, and be willing to stand by it because I'm going to come see you. And then, by the way, as a public company CEO, lots of feelings about public company CEOs, okay? I was one of them. They're not all bad. It's not a 4-letter word. It's okay. You can do it right. But as a public company CEO, I would go to my board and I better be right. If I'm wrong, I'm gone. It's as simple as that. I don't care if you founded it, Randy. I don't care if you took it public. You're a nice guy. We love having you. If you're wrong, you're out. And it doesn't mean you don't make mistakes. It doesn't mean you don't learn from mistakes. Yes, go and make them, but be willing to stand behind them, be accountable, have a plan, and then go do it.
It's really interesting. I mean, this is an excellent leadership lesson. And you keep talking about, we were scared, we made tough decisions. There seems to be a lot of uncertainty in these choices. But you're also saying, I have to go to my board and be right. And you mentioned this story about Starbucks and the CEO, in fact, being wrong. And he was fired, in fact. But, one thing that comes to mind is that there's just kind of a lot of uncertainty that has been hitting precisely this business over the last 5 years, particularly the pandemic, where people thought what you said about a gathering space was not going to be the thing anymore. And now it might be public market uncertainty or a series of things. And so I'm just wondering, how did you choose to stay true to what Shake Shack was? And how do you actually decide that, look, we're just going to be making a good burger where people can sit down, even when people couldn't sit down together, for example, and et cetera? I don't know. What do you think?
Maybe weave this. I'll try to weave my answer into some thoughts on leadership for all of you who are going to be leaders. All of you have a different definition of leadership. There's lots of important things. I'm going to tell you it's important to have integrity, self-awareness, and all that stuff. Okay. I've been trying to figure out what are the better words that are actually more useful. And the number one I've come with as a dad, I got 3 kids. They're all in high school. I think the number one thing through uncertainty in leadership, good, bad, we went through hell in COVID. We were one of the hardest hit companies. In the weeks following the initial COVID, we were burning $5 million a week. We had no idea if we were going to exist. We were laying people off. It was scary, okay? I'm talking about the very first parts. And we were harder hit than others because we didn't have digital. We didn't have drive-thrus. We didn't have all these things that won. We weren't Peloton, right? Like, you don't want to be them now. But, like, what does a leader need to do in these times? Good, bad, and ugly. And the word I like to use now is, are you sturdy? Are you sturdy? Are you a person who, when the wind blows, you get pushed over? Are you a person who, in the meeting, when there's a question about your decision, Are you not sure? When things come up, am I consistent day in, day out, that you know as a leader, no matter what, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be sturdy. That doesn't mean I make the right decisions every time. It doesn't mean I have all the answers. It sure as hell means I need a team to work with me. But I love being sturdy. As a parent, anybody a parent? Anybody have kids in this room? All right, congrats. You know, you're living it. You better be sturdy for them. And we need to teach our kids to be sturdy. My son is an exceptional basketball player, okay, my oldest, and he's the best player on his team, and he averaged a double-double, and he scores 20 a game and all this stuff. Okay, awesome. He joined this amazing team for the spring. Maybe he's going to get recruited into college. This weekend, he goes. He barely plays. He misses all his shots. And there's 8 kids on this team that play better than him. Mm-hmm. He's never experienced that in his life, ever. We had some really good conversations about being sturdy. Who are you going to be next game? You going to sit on the bench? You going to just be upset about it? Or are you going to get your ass out there tonight at practice? That's why he's not here. And show the coach who you are. And it's about being sturdy.
So part of that, you're saying, is having the character to come back and show up the next day, even after the failures. Is there anything else that you use to be sturdy, as you said?
I think we all have to grow deep roots. You heard my early story, and it was really fun, right? And you were listening to it, you're like, oh, he surfed and he did this stuff, it was awesome. You know the advice I got when I was leaving Seattle to come to New York, and it was like my 6th city in 7 years? The owner of my restaurant in Seattle, who's a great mentor to me, said, you're too young and stupid to listen to me right now, but someday you'll tell people about this. So I'm paying it forward.
At Columbia Business School, can go and tell them.
Real learning does not happen when you jump and jump and jump and jump. And your generation are jumpers like crazy, man. And you guys, in the last 5 years, everybody working in your world is like, let me jump. I'm going to make $7,000 more. I'm out of here, man. Oh, I get this job offer, whatever. Do you know when real learning happens? It's when you're sitting in the same chair and the seasons change around you. You experience the same things. Mm-hmm. Who are you in that time? So I, in my early days, was like, I'm jumping, man, whatever. And all of you are like, yeah, whatever, dude. I got to jump on the next job. That's okay. Someday you might remember this speech. And I'm telling you, the reason I was able to build what we built and can rest on it now is that for 25 years, I saw the seasons change. And I learned, and I figured it out, and I took it differently, and I brought people along for the ride with me.
That's great. So I have two more areas that I have in here in my notes I want to talk to you about. One of them is international expansion. So Shake Shack, after succeeding in New York, it grew internationally. And, you know, it's easy to think people would learn to love Shake Shack and that it was better than the burgers that one buys here in New York. But, you know, you go to Mexico City, I'm from Mexico, and the mix is so different, right? It's not obvious, to me at least, that that's what, you know, in a sense, Americans would really itching for a better burger. Was that exactly what they were itching for in Mexico City, or how did you think about that?
Kevin, can we tee up the video slide? Don't play it yet. When the Columbia Business School does the case study on Shake Shack, I don't know if it's happening yet, any of you smart. When it does, they will opine on whether our decisions in international were the worst idea ever or the best. When we had that same 2 restaurants and we went out and got money, I sat at a table at 11 Madison Park, fancy restaurant, with a man named Mohammed Al-Shaya. If anybody knows the Middle East, Mohammed is the best retailer in the Middle East. And he came to us and he said, come to Kuwait. We have 2 restaurants. This man is telling us to come to Kuwait. I'm kicking Danny Meyer under the table like, what is this a joke, man? And I went in 2009. I stood in the construction site of the fountains of the Burj Khalifa. I saw what was about to happen in the Middle East and how it was about to transform. I saw it in 2009 when it was happening. And we said a few things. All we've ever done is create one-of-a-kind special things. We have no idea how to replicate anything. These guys had 70 brands. They had 1,000 Starbucks. They had Cheesecake Factory, an Office Depot, and name your favorite clothing brand. They did it all. They were better at copying and pasting than anyone we'd ever met. So we said a couple things. Maybe if a tree falls in the woods in Kuwait, nobody's going to hear. But maybe we could learn some things. And you all know the best way to learn something is to teach it. And we had to force ourselves to create a global supply chain, to teach other people how to lead our business and how to build. And before we had 10 Shake Shacks, we were open in Dubai. And then we opened in Kuwait. Today, of the nearly 600 Shake Shacks, nearly 300 of them are in 20 countries. No brand of ours has ever done it as early, as far, and as successfully. So if we just could take a few minutes and watch this video, and we'll maybe cut it at some point if we stay out of time. But this is what it feels like at Shacks around the world. I brought this to show you guys. Can we turn up the volume at all? Singapore is some of the busiest Shake Shacks in the world. This was our original opening.
Our very first opening of Shake Shack here in Singapore!
What is a party without a drink in hand? The Shack Meister Ale goes perfectly with the burgers, goes perfectly with everything that you're trying today.
Feels like 116th Street, right? Kind of feels the same.
Ready, set, and go!
Shanghai. I'll tell you some China COVID stories at some point if we have time. Look at the line. This was a commercial that these guys put together and they won a contest to create the coolest commercial in China for Shake Shack. And three. Here's the last one. London.
So it's begun, and there's no excuses. You're already under the thumb. Can you break away from
You gotta get it. I showed you guys that.
So clap your hands, let's play on my way. What's in
Every
store?
smart person you know, every CFO, every Columbia Business School professor, would have said, don't do that. We didn't have the right to do any of it. We weren't ready. When we sent the first batch of burgers to Dubai, I was in the freezer throwing out 75% of them because they were all freezer burned, and we sure as hell didn't know how to create a global supply chain. We had 2 restaurants. We messed up everything. And this is what it looked like. That's just media. The day, I'm wearing the same suit, all right. I gotta get a new suit, man. The line stretched a mile. And at that point we knew we weren't trying to change anything, right? So when we went to Korea, people didn't want a Korean version of Shake Shack, they wanted Shake Shack. And that's who we tried to be, core to who we are. And I think part of that crazy decision was a big part of the success of Shake Shack globally in being able to bring people together around the world to gather in really cool places.
I'll just recognize, I have one more question, and I want to open it up for students' questions. But I'll just recognize that one thing that is infectious hearing you speak is your passion for your vision and you're something we call, when we do psychology, I study the psychology of entrepreneurs, something called self-efficacy, which means it's not just that you have a vision, you have a belief that you'll make it happen. And you're saying you had that belief, but you can still feel that energy, and that is very distinctive. I do want to ask you an industry question, which is, where is the restaurant, food and service industry going, in your opinion? You seem to have been, in my view, you're one of the big visionaries over the last 20 years. So just give us your thoughts where it's going, and then we'll open it up for questions.
I think there's a few directions, and we should do some kind of takeaways at the end too, if we have
Absolutely.
time. Just a couple of like leadership takeaways for you guys. But more than ever, people need places to gather. We are all here in this room. I'm telling you, those of you who are online, thank you for watching, but you're not having the same experience. You're not. And if you tell me you are, you're not. I hope that every one of you goes and works in a company that works in the office. Sorry. You can't get into a good restaurant in New York City right now. You cannot get in. Every restaurant is booked. Why? Because we are all still so PTSD'd from what we went through in COVID that, man, we want to be together. We want to be with people. So if you're building anything, restaurant or otherwise, how does it bring people together, really and truly? I think that's number one. And then the whole juxtaposition of, okay, that's nice to say, but yeah, we do need the greatest AI, the greatest digital tools, and the greatest ease of things that make life easier. Any business that you create, here's how you win. By the way, we didn't invent the cheeseburger, in case you didn't figure it out. We just made some changes to how it's always been done. None of you probably have an original idea in your head, sorry. Whoever executes wins. We didn't have any original ideas. We just did it better. And that is what your product, your company, your work every day needs to do. So we got to combine all these incredible digital tools that are making us smarter, but also pulling us apart to come back and forward the gathering. And if I can I just do this quick 3 words to leave you with?
We could do it at the end if you want after a question.
Oh, okay, great.
That's where I had it in mind.
Let's do it. You're on time.
But I will mention, I like your point of connecting technology to the core of being human, which is connecting other people.
Has to.
But definitely at the closing, that's the last thing we can do.
All right, cool.
So any questions from our audience? You should choose who gets to ask, which?
You sat closest, so you win. Sorry, you guys up top.
So starting off, I was wondering, you guys always done the curly fries, right?
The crinkle cut fries he's talking about, yeah.
So you moved into the hand cut, and then you pulled back, and I'm curious about how that worked from your side. What went in the decision process?
You gave me a softball, man. I wasn't even expecting it. This is one of the great leadership lessons I could teach you guys today. You ready? We had frozen crinkle cut fries forever, okay? That was part of Danny Meyer's Midwest upbringing. We're going to do it. And of course, we're the best. So people over years come to us like, your fries should be better. In-N-Out does them fresh. You suck. Make good fries. Okay. And then the New York Times restaurant reviewer, Pete Wells, comes in and he reviews Shake Shack. He gives us 1 star, which was awesome. 1 star for that's awesome. This is great. And lots of good things. I love this. But P.S., can't Danny Meyer have one of his fancy chefs teach him how to make a good fry? And we're like, yeah, let's go. So we set out and we spend millions of dollars. It takes a year. We retrofit every restaurant and we make the best damn fresh cut French fry you've ever had in your life. We're soaking them 3 times. We're hitting them with vinegar. We're frying them 2 times. And everybody's psyched. And then we launch them and I'm there and I'm at the Upper East Side Shake Shack, 86th Street, excuse me. And I give them out. I'm like, they're great. And this woman takes them. She comes back and she goes, you ruined my life. We proceed to have months of people hating us. These are the worst fries ever. But hold on. This is a great leadership lesson. All you smart young people, we had true north. We were going true north, man. We knew fresh is better. Ours are better. So we would hit them back on Instagram and be like, fry 5, my man. Here's $5. Try them again. We got this right. You're wrong. Clearly you don't know anything. My children would eat them. And they'd be like, I kind of like the old ones, Dad. And I'd be like, you're just dumb kids. You don't know anything. And we just didn't listen. Months go by. Jessica Seinfeld, who is a cookbook author, Jerry Seinfeld's wife, they had we donated a bunch of burgers for their kids' Little League in Central Park. And this is early Instagram days. But she, 2014, she hits us up and says, hey, P.S. on Instagram, thanks for the burgers, Little League, we love it. P.S. what's up with the fries? And some guy in the comments just goes, can't you just tell those guys we don't care about their ideas, we just want yummy fries? I went into Danny Meyer's office that Monday morning and I said, I think we fucked this up, man. We switched back. To this day, the greatest engagement Instagram post we ever had was the going back. So the lesson is, when you're on true north and you believe in something and you know it's right, but everybody tells you you're wrong, when are you going to choose to listen? No one except a couple loud voices actually hated our fries. We had a decade of people loving our fries, but we chose to not listen because of reviewer and some other loud people. And this is very true in our world we live in today. A lot of loud, very few loud voices can make a big impact. And we know how that goes. So that's the lesson. At some point, you really got to listen. And you got to come off your own shit.
I like how the critic and the customer are not the same people, are not the same
That's
target. Right. And you went more for the critic, and kind of the customer was what you came back
That's
to.
That's right. What else, gang? Yes, sir, in the white shirt. Yes.
Thank you so much for coming. Love your energy and love the burgers.
You do love the burgers or not the burgers?
I do love the burgers.
Okay, thank you.
And the fries.
But question is, when... and the fries. Question is, you raised a bunch of money when you only had 2 restaurants and you went global in a very early stage. There are a lot of other great restaurants, like you mentioned. Maybe In-N-Out is a great
company,
which I also like.
I go there every time I get off the plane in LA or somewhere else where there is one.
Yeah. So what's different about Shake Shack when you're so early, but you had such a huge conviction on the product? That might be a commodity.
Well, we had a little something that is absolutely a commodity. As I said, we didn't invent the cheeseburger. We did take it and strip it down to every little piece and say, how do we take the expectation of your fast food cheeseburger and just make it a little bit better? No hormones, no antibiotics. We're actually going to cook it fresh. There's never going to be frozen burgers. Our shakes are going to be hand spun with frozen custard. That's really expensive and hard to make. All that stuff was going to be how we did it. But we just knew that plugging away one step at a time, one thing better than the rest, was going to be the answer to beating the big guys. When we were on the roadshow for the IPO, which is a whole other conversation, one of the big investors who you're trying to sell stock to the week before an IPO said to me, like, if you were the CEO of, I won't name the company, but, well, I'll name it. Why not? If you were the CEO of McDonald's, what would you do? And I said, I would take Shake Shack out immediately. And if you think about it, they should have. And like, they missed by not, undoing lots of companies like us who were coming up and changing the game. Hi.
Randy, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate your time. I wanted to ask about mentorship. So it seems like you've had a series of transitions, mostly in the food and hospitality space. But if you could think back to kind of, coming out of college and going to Aspen or Hawaii, or at any point in time, who would you say is one person that has shaped your leadership philosophy?
I thank you, because I think when I was telling you guys the best advice is not how much money you make or what company, but who you're working for. Go work with someone who wants to mentor you day in, day out, and actually cares. I was lucky in my first job. The guy who said, you want to ski or you want to surf, became my first mentor. When I moved to Hawaii, he let me sleep in his apartment. He gave me his pickup truck. I didn't have any money. He didn't have any money. And he was my boss, and he gave me those things until I could get on my feet in Hawaii. One day I was running a shift at the restaurant in Maui, and he comes in the middle of the night. We're cranking. He's like, Randy, this place runs itself. We're getting out of here. Takes the manager on the floor out. Takes me to a sugarcane field with a shack with a bunch of guys smoking weed and a bunch of broken surfboards. And he goes, choose a board. I'm like, they're all broken. I couldn't afford a surfboard. I was making $30,000 a year. These guys took a broken board, refiberglassed it, put it back together for me, and it cost me $100, and he bought it for me. That's what my mentor did. He knew that my life in Hawaii mattered and the things I was doing, and surfing mattered. To this day, that surfboard's in my living room.
Now, I'm curious because one thing that I picture when I hear these mentors is it's a personality trait. It's not about what you're going to bring to some people. Mentor people, doesn't matter where they are, and others are not. Is that correct?
100%. We're all busy. We all got lives. We all got families. We all got significant others. How many of us actually want to do the job of investing in you? And that is all that matters. Go find go find a mentor and go be a mentor. And by the way, someday you're going to get to a point you're going to say, oh man, I just had this great mentor at my last job. You're my next guy, right? Yeah, you're going to be free. And you're looking up and nobody's there. You know what you got to do at that moment? You got to be a mentor. And I am a student of leadership. To this day, I think the best leaders, hear this, okay? Because you just think about the worst leaders for a second when I say this. The best leaders are the best followers. Man, I love being a follower. Because if I'm not following somebody, I'm not learning. My grandfather used to say to me, and now that you know me well enough, this won't surprise you. He used to say, Randy, you don't learn anything with your mouth open. Sometimes you got to shut up and listen.
Let's get one more. Maybe we were able to make it two more.
Whatever you like. Green shirt, yes, sir.
Talk about sturdiness, developing deep roots. About some times where that muscle, building the deep roots, or developing sturdiness.
Yeah, the question was like, how do you develop that sturdiness? What are some of the tough times? I mean, I could tell you guys some crazy COVID stories. Obviously, I shared some of those with you. I was in southern China in January 2020, the day that Wuhan shut down. I was in Shenzhen, going back and forth to Hong Kong, Guangzhou. You can tell I'm pretty much an optimist. So my wife's calling me and she's like, hey, do you know what's going on over there? And I'm like, yeah, but I'm Randy Garutti. Like, it's not gonna happen to me. I'm good. We're gonna finish this trip. We come back, the world falls apart, all of that. Lots of crazy things happened during that time. I'll give you one quick example. Do you all remember the PPP loans that happened during COVID? Okay. Short end of it is everybody was going out of business, small-time operators. The government came up with a giant fund of money and said, you guys, all you people, we're going to give you money to stay open and keep employing people. And we're like, awesome. We were burning $5 million a week, didn't know if we were going to survive. So we got $10 million. Shake Shack, PPP. The day we got that money in the bank, all those headlines started to hit about mom and pop coffee shop who didn't get the money. And all these guys who didn't get the money. And who are these corporate assholes who are taking the money? That night, me and Danny write a letter. We go on NBC. We put it out there. We announce we're handing back the $10 million. Now, if you lived through that time, we're paying attention, there was probably, just like our politics today, 50% on one side hated us and thought we were the worst guys ever because we took that money. But when we took that money, nobody ever said it was going to run out or, Susie Q's coffee shop wasn't going to get it. They never said that. We were just doing what we did to survive. The other half said, wow, thank you for starting a national conversation on this issue. And we were the first of many that ended up handing the money back. During that time, you didn't want to be on my Instagram because I had the whole world yelling at me. I had people calling my wife and cursing her out. I had people going after my kids. I had every kind of crazy thing you can imagine. That then spilled into all these other things that happened for us during COVID as we struggled. By the way, good end of the story is we ended up doing just fine, but we took it hard. And I think through many other crises we don't have time for, you learn to dig your roots deeper and surround yourself with people. Here's a good one. Here's a good leadership one. Okay. I remember when I was young, and many of you are going to feel this, whether it's in school or in your job. Sometimes anyone ever feel like they just can't get their arms around everything they're trying to do? Has anyone ever felt that? Right? I feel it all the time, man.
This week.
And I used to go and I'd be in the restaurant and I would tell my boss, dude, I can't get my arms around it. And he said, that's your problem. You can't. Do you know the only way to do this? We're going to link arms with everybody around us. And we're all going to get through this. Thank you.
Exactly.
And sorry, I'm an active speaker.
We can stand up together. I am too. My students will tell you.
Like, when it's the hardest, you got to link arms with those people around you, and you got to stick together.
So now, we want to hear your 3 leadership lessons, but I have 2 quick things to say before that. I want to recognize and tell you that we did a few weeks ago a session just like this on Commonwealth Fusion Systems, who are reinventing the way to solve sustainability and save the world. And we had an attendance and sign up here multiple times what people had over that, making much more exciting to hear your story about Shake Shack, just because it is that good. And the second thing that I want to tell you, that I want to announce to everybody, is that we do have some burgers. So wait up on that. But first, we'll hear your 3 leadership stories.
3 quick stories. And all you guys who are busy, okay, it's nice to hear that story, but what do? I'm just going to leave you 3 words that I really like and some quick stories. Number 1, you can hit it up there, Kevin. You got to volunteer. I don't mean go work at the soup kitchen. You should do that. That's not what I'm talking about. When I worked at Chili's, $6 an hour, the GM of the restaurant, I was 19, came up to me and goes, Randy, go clean the bathroom. No problem. I got you, man. I'm a tough worker. I'll go clean the bathroom. I went into the bathroom. When I tell you that guy had exploded in there from a lot of chili, I'm telling, it was bad, man. It was ceiling, it was walls. You never see anything like this. And I'm an Ivy Leaguer, man. And I go, hey, Dave, you didn't mean me, right? And he grabs me, and he goes, don't mind if I touch you?
Go for it.
Don't you ever think you're too good to clean up somebody else's shit. My Ivy League ass was put in place. Sorry, thank you. But guys, in every moment in my career, in my life, when nobody wanted to do the job, I would raise my hand. Nobody in our fancy fine dining company wanted to deal with a hot dog cart. I raised my hand. The lesson is volunteer for the toughest job. When you're at work and you don't want to do it, and the boss says, who wants that one? And everyone's like, oh, not me. Raise your hand. Number 2, impact. Real quick, we're almost done here. Can I get a little audience participation? Can we all say the word impact on 3? 1, 2, 3, impact. All right, one more time. 1, 2, 3, impact. Okay. I don't know if you'll remember a word I said today, but man, when I enter a room, I'm going to make an impact. I have never known what it felt like to be the smartest person in the room. Every single one of you is smarter than me. I have never known what it was like to be the best athlete on the field. But when I walk in a room, I am going to have an impact. Maybe a bad one. Maybe a good one. But nobody's going to stop me from having an impact. Who are you going to be in your class, in your group, in your job, in your home, with your kid? Are you, when your kid's there, are you going to be on your phone, or are you going to impact their lives? 1, 2, 3.
Impact.
That sucked, guys. Okay, come on, one more time. 1, 2, 3. Impact. We make an impact. We volunteer for the toughest things. We make an impact. Last one. I was working a shift at a restaurant. I won't name the restaurant or the person. And I'm at the front door.
Do it.
And in comes Mike. We'll call him Mike, a line cook. Now, this is in like the year 2000, okay? Guy comes walking in for his shift at 4 o'clock. Door opens, and when I tell you, like a cloud of weed just rolls in with this guy. Like, I mean, he's just finished, right? Like, it was a giant thing. And he had a smile on his face. Heading into the shift. I go, Mike, how you doing, man? He goes, Randy, just trying to make today the best day of my life. Now, we didn't agree on his methods. I'm telling you, if I smile at you, it's hard for you to not smile back at me. It's not that hard. You could be having the worst day ever. You could be tired. You could be messing up the project. Do the little things. Every day, you smile. It works. Makes people feel better. I promise you it'll work. So anyway, with that,
That's the
appreciate
best
you
thing
guys.
to close
Shake
it.
Shack.
Let's thank Randy.